Having seen about the basic requirements to write a Python program, we have also discussed the method of generalizing the program, that is giving the input at the time of execution also. But if you want to give more than one data in a single line, how we have to do? That is what we are going to discuss in the present presentation, as well as the method of storing the values in a different way, like using list as well as tuple. So far we have seen the sequence data under the sequence data type, the strings. So the other two main data types available are list as well as tuple. Before we see those things, let us see a program. If you want to find the sum of 78, 98, 76 and 56, we have already written a program where we have defined all these values inside the program and then find the sum and report the value. But the problem is we want to change the program each and every time whenever we want to find the sum of other different four numbers. Instead of that, if we want to generalize it, then we have to use the input statement. That is what we have discussed in the previous discussion. Now, using this concept, we are going to write an algorithm as well as a program to find the sum. Here, the first statement is A is equal to integer input, enter the first value. That is, we want to get one value and store it as the value of A. And second value is going to be stored as the value of B. Third value is going to be stored as the value of C. And the fourth value has to be stored as the value of D. Now all these things are going to be, you are going to give only integer values. So then only we can find the sum. That is why we are giving integer int within quote sign. So within parentheses we are putting this input and another parenthesis. Inside that we are writing enter the first value. Then only we will know which value it is asking. So user may be able to know, he may be able to type the value at the time of execution. Similarly, integer input, enter the second value and store it as B. And the third value is integer input, enter the third value and store it as C. Lastly, it is reading the fourth value and storing it as D. Now, sum 1 is equal to A plus B plus C plus D. So, this is the assignment statement which you are familiar with. So, it adds A, B, C, D and store it as the value of sum 1. And it is printing the value of A, B, C, D as well as sum 1. Now, if you want to give different values, not necessarily the one which you have discussed earlier, we can give different values like 10, 100, 1000, 10,000. So if we give all those things, it will find out the sum and it will give the value here. So it's a generalized program. We need not have to change the program each and every time. Now the question arises whether I have to give one value at a time or if I want to give 4 values in a single line, is it possible? Definitely it is possible. Only for that we are having this list as well as tuple. Now if you use the list, so the method is list, so equal sign list 1. We are giving the name of the list as list 1, equal sign. You are giving the square bracket. So that means no element is available here. It's a fresh list with no element available here. And the next statement is list 1 integer n for n in input, enter space separated values. Alright, now I want to enter 4 values. So that is why I am saying input within bracket enter space separated values. So we can give the values separately. Here we have to write the value which you are going to have is integer. So that is why we are putting integer n. So what are the values that has to be read for n in? So the input statement in whatever are the values that are available in the input statement, that has to be read. So that is why we are using the syntax as for n in. So this is the syntax to read more than one value at a time using a input statement. So here the thing is within square bracket we have to write integer n. If I want to read floating value, you simply write float within bracket n. If it is string value, simply bracket n, small close bracket n. For n in input, enter space separated values. So similarly, 3 values for 4 values, whether it is numeric or non-numeric or floating or integer, that can be given. So another important word is the split. The split statement will split the values. So by space, it will split the values. Okay. So if you give like this, it will read any number of values and store it inside the program. So if I say A is equal to, so when I want to store it as A, B, C, D, list 1 of 0. So the subscript is 0 and the number of, the name of the list is list 1. In the list 1, the first element which is subscripted by 0 is read and it is stored as and assigned as the value of A. Similarly, B is equal to list 1, 1, C is equal to list 1, 2, D is equal to list 1, 3, then sum 1 is equal to A plus B plus C plus D, and then print sum. So if we use this kind of program, we can give more than one values in a single line by space separated values. The system will read and store it as a list, and it will take the individual elements by its subscript value which you are going to define starting from 0 onwards. Alright. So having seen a program, we are using a list. Now the next question is how to form a list. How I can define a list. That's what we are going to discuss in detail now. So when I want to form rules regarding the list is, name of the list has to be given. So in the earlier case we have given it as list 1. So here list 1 equal sign, then you can give value 1, value 2, etc. up to value n. Any number of values can be given, but each value should be separated from the other by a comma. So this is the way in which we can define the value in the list itself, name of the list as well as the elements are given here. If we want to read through input statement, the previous one which we have discussed has to be followed. Now what is a list? It is a collection of values where one is separated from the other by comma. All the elements should be enclosed between square bracket. Now, one important thing is the content of the list can be changed once created. That is, suppose I have given the values 10 as the first value, second value is 100, third value is 1000, fourth value is 10,000. Now, instead of first value, instead of 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, for the first number, instead of 10, suppose I have mistakenly given it as 1. Now, if I want to change the value, that can be changed. Alright? It is possible to change the contents of a list. Now, the contents can be a mixture of different data types like integer, float, string, list, tuple, as well as dictionary. What I mean by that is, suppose a name of an individual is given as well as his register number and also the marks in 3 different subjects. So that can be given as the first one is the name of the individual, and the next is a register number, integer number, and 3 other numbers. So each can be separated from the other by putting a comma. So this is what is meant by the mixture of data types. It can be anything. String also we have seen. It is integer, float, string. It also can contain a list or a tuple or a dictionary that we can discuss whenever that need comes. Now, here you see an example here. So marks are given as 50, 78, 89, 96, 100. So these are the 5 different marks defined, and the name of the list is marks itself. So another is names. So it is a string sequence of characters are given. Its string values are given, and it is stored as names: Nikit, Aja, Arya, Swanik. Now we are going to form a new list which is called as a mark list, which is the combination of marks as well as names. So we have to store the names as well as the marks, and it should be, these 2 lists has to be combined as a single list. So that is also possible. If I say mark list is equal to names comma marks, these 2 lists can be combined into a single list. When I say print marks, it will print the contents of the first list. So within a square bracket, it will print all the 5 values. Similarly, if I give print names, it will print all the 4 names which has been given within the quote sign, and it will enclose it within a square bracket. Suppose if I give print mark list, so that is the new list which you have formed by combining the names as well as the marks. So immediately it will print the first list is Nikit, Aja, Arya, Swanik. So that is the first list, and the second list is other 5 marks. So it will be printing all the things which are in a single list, so which is called as a mark list. Like that, one list may contain another list also. So these are the rules that we have to follow while forming the list. It will be more clear when we work out more number of examples. So similarly, we have another sequence type which is called as a tuple. Now the difference between tuple as well as the list is only thing is the value which are created within the syntax within the list can be changed, but whereas in the tuple we cannot change the value once it has been created. Similar simple syntax difference alone is there. So the syntax of the tuple is name of the tuple. Now instead of square bracket we have to use a single bracket, or a simple bracket has to be given, and all the values has to be separated by a comma. Now a tuple is a list of values where one is separated from the other by comma, so the same rule as list, and element should be enclosed between simple bracket. Here it is a simple bracket and not a square bracket. The content of the tuple cannot be changed once created. It is immutable. Suppose if you want to have some confidential information are created, it should not be changed by others. So that can be defined as a tuple, so that once it is created, it cannot be changed. As in the list, the contents can be a mixture of different data types like integer, float, string, list, tuple, or dictionary. Now, the individual elements of the tuple can be accessed by giving the name of the tuple and the position of the element of the tuple. The position of the element starts from 0 onwards. See, in the example we have seen, in the first example, we have read 4 values, and the first value is stored as A of list 1, 0 is stored as the value of A. Like similar kind of thing can also be done using the tuple also. So the individual elements in the list as well as the tuples can be accessed by its position values. both in the list as well as the tuple, individual element is identify the position value. The first element lies in the 0th position, second element in the first position, and so on. As in the string, where we have discussed the positional value starts from 0 onwards, here also the same thing happens. So these are the other two sequence data types that are more important and are useful in writing different programs. So in the next presentation, we can use some of these things and write some programs. Thank you.